When I grew up in Turkey, what I called my home was my village and everyone in it. And then I came to live in the Western world and I learned that what you're meant to call home is just your four walls, and if you're lucky, your family. And then this protest began and we all got to know each other and this whole place became my home. And I think of everywhere here as home now. And she realised that we are homeless in some sense in the Western world, that humans have a need for a sense of belonging. And our sense of home is too small to meet our sense of home belonging. There's a wonderful Bosnian writer called Alexander Heyman who said, home is where people notice when you're not there, right? And a lot of us, like these guys you're talking about, these older guys, who notices if they're not there?
Right.
Probably no one.
Probably
they are,
no
in
one.
a sense, homeless, right? They are spiritually homeless. And I say that I'm not a religious person, I don't mean that.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. It's very important.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And so I think it's about, and this comes back to, think about how different that is, what everything we're talking about, think how different our conversation has been to what my doctor told me when I was a teenager. And I go in and I say, I'm in real pain and I feel like pain is leaking out of me and I can't control it. And he says, you've just got a malfunction in your brain, right? One of the worst things about that, there are many things wrong with that. Firstly, what he said to me is not true. I'm sure he believed it. I think he was misinformed. I don't think he was deliberately lying to me. But what he said was not true. But also, to me, the biggest problem with just telling this exclusively biological story about depression and anxiety, there's some real biological factors, of course, is it cuts us off from having this conversation, right? All those people you were talking about who are so insistent, as I was, that their depression is just the result of a chemical imbalance. If you think that, it disconnects you from the source of your pain. It tells you you're just biologically broken and presumably always going to be biologically broken. When the conversation we're having, which is a different conversation, it's a difficult conversation, it's a nuanced conversation, it's not simplistic, it's not one problem, one lever to solve it, it's a much deeper and more textured way of thinking. That is the conversation we have to have. That's what the best scientists in the world are telling us, the World Health Organization. And my worry is, we're just being pushed in, like you said, that very good metaphor about driving 37 miles in the wrong direction, right? We're just driving in the wrong direction. We're driving away from the source of our pain rather than towards it where it can be understood and solved. Of course, there's always going to be some pain in human life, but the fact that we have this 1 in 5 people taking a psychiatric drug, I think the figure is 1 in 10 13-year-old boys is taking a stimulant drug to make them focus. I think the figure is 30% of old people in retirement homes have been given antipsychotic drugs to shut them the fuck up because they're rebelling against the way they're being treated. In between, 1 in 4 middle-aged women in the United States is taking a chemical antidepressant at any given time.
1 in 4.
1 in 4. You're talking about a society that, I mean, the figures about how many children, it's much lower, but it's so much more extreme. The number of toddlers who've been given antipsychotics in the United States is just off the scale, right? I think Dr. Sami Tamimi has written about this. There's some extraordinary figure, I might be getting the figure slightly wrong, but it's something like a majority of children in foster care in the United States are being given stimulant drugs, basically to shut them up.